Welcome to Sports Grind Season 3, Episode 4. My name's Tyler Wargo, and we have a lot to talk about going with Week 3 of the NFL, and then MLB as we're getting closer and closer to the AL wildcard, NL wildcard, and postseason. So stay tuned, stick around for that. So without further ado, let's kick off right with Week 3 of the NFL. Panthers handled the Texans 29-4. Sam Darnold replaced Christian McCaffrey. As we know, Christian McCaffrey, he has a hamstring injury, and that's not looking good for the Panthers, although they held on and got the win against the Texans. And, that just shows you that the Texans' defense is down bad. So Darnold also had 2 touchdowns, gaining 11 yards. Chargers beat the Chiefs. Shockingly, normally Chiefs fans would not expect that. They lost 30-24. Justin Herbert had an amazing arm, throwing 4 touchdowns. Mike Williams gained 122 yards with throwing 2 touchdowns, with rushing with 2 touchdowns. Chargers defense read Mahomes perfectly as Mahomes gave up 2 interceptions. That's not what the Chiefs like to see, honestly. So Mahomes, I think he can definitely get those wins back, but that was just not his game. Cardinals beat the Jaguars 31-29 in Jacksonville. Then we got the Browns, who hammered the Bears 26-6. Justin Fields had a bad field day, throwing only no touchdowns and only relying on his kicker, Cario Santos. Browns have been aggressive as of late. Odell Beckham Jr. is back in the lineup for the Browns, and we saw a lot from the Browns defense as Myles Garrett had 4 sacks. Bills conquered the Washington football team 21-43. Josh Allen threw 358 yards and he threw 4 touchdowns. So the Bills, they're staying as sharp as they were last season. And Zach Moss had an average on the field of 4.6. Taylor Heinicke for Washington gave up 2 interceptions, but threw 2 touchdowns. So that was not that bad for the Washington football team, although, they couldn't get those 20 more points added onto the board. So now we take it over to Nashville as the Titans beat the Colts 25-16. And now, let's talk about the Saints and the Patriots. Again, the Saints won. That's what we love to see, beating the Patriots 28-13. Mac Jones is a rookie, but he still needs to find his chemistry with the team. I don't think his communication was working out as well. Him and Damian Harris and Kendrick Bourne, they still need to work with Mac Jones a little bit more. Jameis Winston finally bounced back after the loss against the Packers as he threw 2 touchdowns, so that's pretty good by Jameis Winston. Callaway was the man to look at as he gained 1 touchdown, gaining 41 yards. So he was the guy to look at, man of the game. Can the Saints actually rely on their kicker, Rosa? Honestly, I know that Will Lutz is hurt, and I think that we need a replacement. We need a kicker out there. So I definitely think the Saints can't rely on him fully. I definitely think that when Lutz gets better, they're going to immediately bench Rosa and they're going to put Lutz back. But, he missed 2 field goals and made only 1, making him have 4 points in the game. So I think that we should see more from Rosa, and I don't think he's going to be kicking that much for the Saints anymore going forward. So, yeah. So we now take you to New York as the Falcons beat the Giants 17-14. So that was a good game. The Giants kind of kept it close to the Falcons, but the Falcons, they kind of beat them to the lead. So Bengals been improving and doing better than ever as they beat the Steelers 24-10. Bengals fans, you guys must be having a day and having a season. Beating Roethlisberger and the Steelers, that really shows you something. Although Joe Burrow threw 1 interception, he threw 3 touchdowns. So his communication was there, their play types were good, and they really were running the ball down the field excellent. Jamar Chase had 2 touchdowns, gaining 65 yards. And so now let's talk about the Steelers. What is happening to Ben Roethlisberger? He's not doing as good as he was last time. As we know, last season he had an injury, came back, played really well. Now, after that whole offseason, he comes back on the Steelers and is completely giving up the lead and everything. He gave up 2 interceptions and had 4 sacks. That is not what the Steelers love to see for Roethlisberger. And honestly, I think he's going to have to keep improving on his arm. We don't know what it is, but we definitely should see more improvement from Roethlisberger and the Steelers. Close game in Detroit as it went to overtime, having the Ravens come on top 19-17. Ravens gained a total yards of 387. Lions gained 285 yards. Justin Tucker was the greatest kicker, is still the greatest kicker in fantasy. He's a good kicker. Matter of fact, one of the best kickers in the entire league. But in fantasy, he's the same. So he had an average of 13 points, making the Ravens win in overtime. And now, let's talk about the Jets. Another bad year for Mickey's team, the Jets, as they fall 0-3. That is not good. As they lost to the Broncos 26-0. Can Zach Wilson play as good as he did in college? He won 2 trophies in college, and now in high school, and now in the professional league, he just gave that up. This is not what we like to see from the Jets, considering that he's a young player too. So Melvin Gordon had 1 touchdown, as well as Javonte Adams for the Broncos. Broncos are now undefeated with a record of 3-0, so they did not find that game hard to win. So we take you now over the Allegiant Stadium, as the Raiders also remain undefeated. They're 3-0, beating the Dolphins 31-28. That was a close game. I think both teams were effective, and both teams were executing well back and forth on the field. Peyton Barber had gained 111 yards, having 1 touchdown, and his average was 4.8, so that's not bad. Peyton Barber was the guy to look at in that game. Derek Carr allowed 3 sacks and gave up only 1 interception. Jason Sanders for the Dolphins had 8 points and in kicking, making 3 out of 4 field goals. 2 out of 3 field goals, my bad. Rams put the Buccaneers to sleep, 34-24. Buccaneer fans, I know you guys are not happy. I know you guys aren't happy because you guys lost to the LA Rams. LA Rams, they're looking good this season. Matthew Stafford's been playing excellent with the Rams, throwing 4 touchdowns. Brady was also just having a bad game because we know they're 2-1, so that's their first loss of the season. Nothing really to be worried about. It's just 1 loss. But what does this mean for the Buccaneers going forward? Will they keep their chemistry up? Gronkowski was hurt that game, so maybe that was why. But I think he's going to be back this weekend. I don't know. It's still doubtful, but we'll see as the weekend progresses. So we're also gonna see a lot from the Rams this year, though. Going with defense, offense, going with Matthew Stafford working well with the team. A lot to come for Los Angeles right there. Vikings put down the Seahawks 30-17. Huge game, and then huge game in San Francisco as the Packers just held on, beating the 49ers 30-28. I think both teams played excellent. We should see more from both teams as the season goes on. Devontae Adams had a touchdown going with the wide receiver Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And the 49ers, they have great defense. And, coming from last season, they weren't that good to this season. I think it was a good improvement from the 49ers ever since the offseason. And although Richard Sherman just got announced to be playing with the Buccaneers, I still think that 49ers are going to be keeping their defense consistent with the win-losses. We shouldn't really see the defense fall that much, but Richard Sherman going to the Buccaneers, come on. I feel like the Buccaneers have too much players. You got Leonard Fournette, you got Antonio Brown, Gronkowski, Brady. Now you're just stacking up your defense. I just find that crazy. But I think a lot of these teams are getting good over the years, so it's still going to be hard for the Buccaneers. So, but yeah, the 49ers, their defense could still be outstanding this year. And also, safe to say, the Cowboys are back. The Cowboys were terrible seasons ago, and now they're back. They're winning. They won 41-21 and really stomped on the Eagles. Dak Prescott really built his chemistry over time. Over the offseason, he's worked really well with his wide receivers and running backs, and he threw 3 touchdowns in that game. Cowboys had a total of 160 rushing yards, while the Eagles had a total of 64. So that was not that good. We saw a lot of yards from the Cowboys than we did with the Eagles. Cowboys just ran up and down the field and were just doing a lot as they gathered a combined total of 27 first downs. So Cowboys, keep running it up. This is what the Cowboy fans love to see. This is what they've been wanting to see for seasons past, and they haven't gotten it. And they're very thankful that Prescott finally snapped into it, worked his chemistry with the team, and that's exactly what the Cowboys love to see. Last night, Jaguars became 0-4. Not good at all. As they're one of the worst teams in the league so far, as they lost to the Bengals. As you know, the Bengals has been super hot as of late, 24-21. Close game, though. Both were aggressive on defense, but the offense for the Jaguars was just not there. And Joe Burrow threw a touchdown to Joe Mixon, as well as throwing 2 touchdowns to C.J. Uzomah. So the chemistry between Burrow and Uzomah is amazing. Both teams had an equal of 21 first downs. We now take you over to the hot stuff. MLB, we're getting down the wire. October, it's here. Let's start off with the Cardinals Brewers. Both the Cardinals and the Brew Crew clinched the playoff spots heading into October as they faced off against each other. Cardinals won 4-3 yesterday. Luis Urias had been playing really well for the Brew Crew. He had 1 RBI and 1 home run. The pitcher, Brett Anderson, for the Brewers played 5 innings with 2 strikeouts. And for the Cards, Dylan Carlson was the man to look at as he had 2 home runs and 1 RBI. Not bad. I think that both of these teams have chemistry with the team. They're both aggressive at the plate. They have a really good infield and outfield. So honestly, we're going to be seeing heavy hitting from the Cardinals. And you know what, Cardinal fans? You guys deserved it. You guys are back into the postseason. And it kind of reminds me of when you guys were in the postseason in 2016. I have a feeling that you guys are going to play just as well. So J.A. Happ allowed 9 hits and 7 strikeouts. He's doing really well for the Cards. You know, he works with his 4-seam, 2-seam, and his knuckle curve. So I think he's going to be playing well as well coming postseason. Angels had the lead and blew it and lost 7-6. Alex Cobb is no doubt the best pitcher for the Angels. He held it close. He pitched 5 innings, allowed 2 walks, striking out 5. So that was pretty good. Jared Walsh is another star player for the Angels. He is a center fielder for them. He collected 2 home runs and 1 RBI. And now for the Rangers, DJ Peters had 2 home runs as he hit really well off the Angel relievers. We saw him, the 2 RBIs, 2 home runs. That was amazing to see. Cubs beat the Pirates in the Steel City 9-0. It was a big slugfest for the Cubs. We saw a lot of hits from Alcantara. So the Cubs and the Pirates, they're not going to be in the postseason, unfortunately. But hey, the Cubs, that win was really good to get. Red Sox are also contending for the AL wild card, but shockingly, they did not have their hitting last night. They lost to the O's 2-6, and I really laugh when I look at the O's record. It's like 50 wins and like 104 losses. I don't know how you can be that bad, but I mean, the Diamondbacks are no different, so I gotta say that. Ryan Mountcastle had 1 RBI and 1 home run. Tyler Maven had 2 RBIs and a home run as well. The Red Sox pitching was not bad though. Nick Pivetta had 8 strikeouts. And now we take you over to Toronto as the Yanks are contending for the AL wild card as well. Their record is 91-68, beating the Blue Jays 6-2. Aaron Judge went yard as he hit 2 home runs and scored an RBI. Yanks bullpen played really well, shutting down the Blue Jays' heavy hitters. Robbie Bray struck out 4, giving up only 3 walks for the Jays. So the other 2 teams to look at is the Athletics and the Mariners, who are also contending for the wild card. No, not Athletics. Mariners and Blue Jays, who are also going after the AL wild card. So it's gonna get good. I mean, and these games are not only going to be, these games are happening in 5 days, so stay tuned to that. Mets played their last home game and won 12-3. It's always good to get a nice win, especially if it's your last game home. So they won against the Marlins. And now let's talk about the Rays and the Astros. Rays are going in the playoffs as well as the Astros. Those 2 teams both played yesterday in Houston. We saw the Stros win 3-2. Both teams were well relatable when it comes to hitting and pitching. Lance McCullers Jr. had 4 strikeouts. McHugh only pitched 1 inning. I was kind of surprised. I'm like, okay, McHugh's a starter pitcher. Okay. And then not even half the inning goes by and he's taken out. Okay, I guess he's not. I don't know really what was the reason behind that. I'd like to know. But they took him out in replace for Ryan Yarbrough. But Ryan Yarbrough did not do that bad. He got up a couple of hits. He pitched 5 innings. He had 3 strikeouts in that game. And now, tough loss in Philadelphia as the Phillies, they played really well this season. I mean, as you know, August and July was their strong season, and then they kind of just gave it up. I don't think they kept their wins and losses consistent. I think that was why the Phillies aren't making it to the postseason. So that's not that. I mean, honestly, you got next year. You still got a good team. I'm not gonna say you're bad. I mean, you could be worse. So they lost to the Atlanta Braves, which is a really hard team to face. So they will not be making it to the playoffs. But the Braves, they're going to be making it to the playoffs. And, Braves, they have made it to the playoffs many seasons before. And they have a lot of experience. So they could be going far in the playoffs and be showing up. But when it comes to the Dodgers, I don't know. I really don't like seeing the Braves play the Dodgers. It gets me a little anxious. But, who knows? So the Braves won against the Phillies last night, 5-3. Kyle Gibson pitched well for the Phils, having 8 strikeouts, only giving up 2 walks. Braves just have hitting, and will always have the hitting, as they have Austin Riley having 1 home run and 1 RBI, as well as Dansby Swanson, who had a great game, having 2 hits, 1 walk, and an RBI. Tigers beat the Twins 10-7. Both teams will not be making it to the playoffs, but I think the Tigers did really well this season, as well as the Twins, So, Indians also beat the Royals 6-1 in Kansas City. And now, let's talk about the big games in the NL West. Things are getting tight as the Giants are winning yesterday, Giants won yesterday, beating Arizona 5-4. They will find a nice place in the playoff spot. Diamondbacks scored most of their runs in just the first inning, with the help of Pavin Smith to driving the run, so that was pretty good. Pavin Smith's he's a good first baseman and a good hitter. He could kind of play outfield as well, so that's what Arizona would like to see. Although they just got to keep their hitting consistent and their infield and outfield, manageable. So, but it wasn't a good game. I mean, they're kind of relatable to the Orioles. So, Buster Posey had 2 RBIs, as well as Brandon Crawford, who had 1 home run and 1 RBI. Giants went all out on their relievers. We saw them use 4 relievers. One of their relievers was being Johnny Cueto, their starter. I have no idea why he was relieving, but he was. They all had 2 or more strikeouts, so that was pretty good. And we'll take you to the last segment of the show. I absolutely love the Dodgers destroying San Diego 8-3. I mean, the Dodgers hit so many back-to-back home runs, from Justin Turner to A.J. Pollock to Corey Seager. Dodger fans, including myself, we love to see it. So, and we can also talk about Tatis hitting a bomb over the left field pavilion. It kind of reminded me of Giancarlo Stanton when he was on the Marlins. He hit the ball in the same position that Tatis hit it, and we don't really see a lot of those balls being hit that far in Dodger Stadium. So that was a good hit by Tatis, I'd like to point out. But watch out October, because the Dodgers are coming in hot in the NL wildcard chase. So they're going to be looking hot going into the playoffs. And seeing them have Pujols, Betts, Pollock, all of them healthy, it kind of makes me confident that they will go far in the playoffs, so that when they do face the Braves, they're going to sweep them and beat them out of the playoffs. Because I'm telling you, the Dodgers, they're coming. They're coming on, and a lot of teams wish they were the Dodgers, but they're not. So, yeah. So anyway, that wraps up for today's Sports Grind. My name is Tyler Wargo, and thank you guys for tuning into Sports Grind Season 3, Episode 4.